Welcome to Sweeping the Country. One more time, I'm your host, Derek Walker. Along with me, my co-host, he's always entertaining folks, Mr. Jimmy Carter. Hey, Jimmy.
Oh, man, we are toward the end of summer.
Where did that
at this
go?
point? You know, we've had a little vacation time for all of us.
Yeah.
And, changes and this, that, and the other. I did a tremendous 3,400-mile road trip, which was insane.
Yeah, well, hey,
the summer has been the hottest of my life.
I got to ask you.
I don't think you're getting this weather in the Northwest, are you?
Well, we are. We're getting the heat, but it's drier. So last week we were in the 90s. We'll probably be in the hundreds this week, but it's very dry, so it's easy to handle it. Unlike where you are, and the humidity is off the chart.
Yeah, it's 105 heat indexes. People in Texas are just burning up, although the systems seem to be holding up, which
Excellent.
is amazing.
Well, they don't have electric cars yet.
Yeah, right. And so it's just been a miserable summer. I was glad to get on the road trip to go north.
Yeah.
Like we were in West Virginia and even New Jersey, and the weather was so much more tolerable
Really?
than in the deep South. You know, it's just the southern states. They said the sand the other day in Miami Beach, the sand was 137 degrees.
So you can't walk on that. You can't walk across
you
the beach.
can, but you're going to get burned up and you're going to realize what you did pretty quick.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then the water down in the southern part of down there where at the end of the Everglades, where the Key West and the Keys begin, they've had some temperatures in the water at 100 degrees.
I wonder if that makes the snakes and alligators get out of there. You know,
it's freaking out a lot of different things. Who knows?
Yeah,
I'm sure they're running for something that's cooler than that. But,
no doubt.
And they're scared to death if a hurricane ever comes along because that will be fuel. Warm water is fuel for a hurricane. So it would be the biggest hurricane ever. So we'll see what happens with all that.
Hey, I got to ask you.
Weird summer.
You brought up the mileage, and I know this. You probably don't want to talk about it right now, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. You said over 3,000 miles. What was your gas bill? Do you know?
We figured that out. It seemed like it was about $700 or $800.
Oh, that's nothing.
Like that.
That's not bad.
I mean, I know because it may be more than that, but it's just not how we paid for it. It just, you know, you seem to have to get gas every day. I mean, it was around 350, 380 generally.
Okay, that's not too bad for two people to travel 3,000 miles.
The hotels are all $200 now, unless you're in a resort, and then the resorts are all $400.
How were the accommodations? Were they pleasant enough, or?
We had one hotel that was in Virginia Beach, was the Hilton Garden Inn, and one thing I've learned about those hotels. Generally, if you're traveling, unless you're on business, do not stay in the core of a downtown.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because parking is an issue. The hotel has parking, but in this case, I didn't know what I was doing on this hotel. I don't know why I did what I did, but I made a mistake. And I booked this hotel that was downtown. I am a Hilton Diamond customer, so I'm supposed to be, get stuff. But the parking was limited, and I've got some back issues. So the nearest I could have parked was in a parking garage about 2 blocks away.
Wow.
Because people had already taken the 5 or 6 parking places, that were there for them. So a nice lady said, just park in the bank parking lot, which is adjacent. Just get out of that place before the bank police come at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So that was no problem for us.
Excellent.
So that was just one of the many problems. And then the room they gave us was a handicap special room. And I think I've been in one once before.
I like
but
them.
It doesn't have a shower. It doesn't have a tub. It's a flat surface where the water, where you can just drive your wheelchair up into the shower.
Yeah.
And that's great for people that need that service. But if you don't, the floor is all wet and it's just a damn mess.
Yeah.
So we got out of there with 1 day instead of 2. And that was not a good hotel.
But otherwise pretty decent though, huh?
But otherwise mostly okay. Some better than okay.
Excellent.
The home-to-homes are usually pretty good.
Yeah.
By Hilton, that chain. Hilton Garden Inns, depending on the age of the hotel, if it's a newer hotel in a business park or something, they're generally pretty good. Always trying to get the air conditioner
dialed in. I know.
Where you can dialed in. It's just
they're awful.
I've had trips with bigger problems, but that's one. Parking at a hotel. This was another one was in Atlanta. I came back late at night,
Yeah, and there's
so I had to
nowhere to
park
park.
up in a parking garage and walk down through some dark. I don't get scared too often, but it was a little
Yeah,
scary
yeah,
doing that in Atlanta and at night. It's just boy,
right.
uh, that wasn't good. I will never stay at that hotel again. You just you gotta really read. There's a thing called I think it's Travelocity, but it's Travel Advisor or something. But it gives
TripAdvisor?
you
Yeah,
reviews of hotels,
yeah,
and you really need to read those reviews. They're going to be negative because a hotel is going to get positive and negatives every day. But you listen to the negatives and
yeah.
see if you see a consistent thing, whether it's parking, cleanliness,
Whatever.
bugs,
Yeah.
all those things. You really got to spend some time, and you can't just say, well, I'm a Marriott person or I'm a Hilton person, so I'm going to stay there, which I do that, but you can't just assume your brand is perfect
It's
because
funny.
they're not.
It's funny that you brought that up because we stayed in the home to home going to Arizona because we went on a trip too, and it was beautiful. It was great. When we came back, we went to go camping and we couldn't find a campsite. So we finally found one, Lake Cascade, beautiful lake, beautiful foothills, nice looking campsite online. And we read the reviews, and it was the only site we can get that said the only problem is there's a lot of road noise. So we get there,
Oh
and
no,
sure
that's
enough,
that's another.
whew,
Yeah, stayed at one. Where was this one? One of the hotels. We were literally. It was I mean, it was right there next to a busy interstate.
yeah, yeah, and
I
it's
don't remember
noisy.
what city it was in, but I mean, literally, you could look out and see the fire trucks go by and the police cars.
Yeah,
I mean, it was no more. It was very. But so I was on the wrong side of the hotel.
there you go.
You just don't know.
No,
You just don't know sometimes if you've never been to some place, and you've got to really look at the maps. And it's tricky. It
yeah,
really is tricky.
oh
I'd
yeah,
say I was 50-50. There was one that was, and that's another thing. Some of them claim to be in cities they are not.
interesting,
This home to
interesting.
home said it was in Quantico.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe
Yeah,
it was, but I mean, it was okay once you got into the building, and we got a place that night, so it was okay.
yeah,
Some places have better food than others. I like the breakfast at the Hilton Garden Inns.
yeah. They're good.
They
Yeah.
do a regular scratch breakfast there, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever get to eat that meal, so I love it when I can.
Yeah.
But home to homes, they're in Hampton. They do something that I've
The
got friends that
omelets.
love to eat it because they'll eat omelets and yogurt,
Yeah.
crap like I won't eat that stuff. I want scrambled eggs with bacon
Yeah.
sausage,
The omelet is
traditional things. And
pre-cooked,
the
right? I mean,
omelets, it just never knew. So I go to McDonald's when I'm doing that. I'll just go to
and it's
McDonald's.
better, and it's better. I'm sure.
So, but we know people that like to eat yogurt and stuff like that.
Yeah. My wife does that.
Yeah, and so anyway, it's tricky. Luckily, I had my first in my life, and I'm not a teenager.
Okay.
I've never had car trouble. In one time, I had a Chevrolet uh, Avalanche that blew its transmission at 110,000 miles,
Wow.
but we were relatively close to the city. I had
Mm-hmm.
my family with me. AAA came and got us, and it somehow was okay. It wasn't that bad,
Yeah. Sure.
but I had car trouble on this trip,
Oh boy.
and it we didn't know what all these red lights started coming on the car.
Where
It was
were
about
you when?
3:30, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
on an interstate just entering in Ohio, coming from West Virginia and Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And so uh, all these red lights are on, and the cars. So I called real quick to a dealer service department that I knew, and
Mm-hmm.
they said, "You got to park that thing now. You're going to blow up the engine." So
Okay.
we did put it in. Luckily, there was a rest area there. But man, the things that run through your mind when that kind of serious problem is going on. Number one, I had to cancel about 5 reservations that I knew we'd never get to.
Mm-hmm.
Hilton. That was like $1,000 extent. I knew I had to cancel every one of those.
Yeah.
I had to
No
get
doubt.
AAA on the phone. Oh my God. They
And
wanted me to go digital, go to AAA.com and make your request on there, which I was not going to do. I'm not going to be hanged out to dry doing that. So finally got them on the phone. They had to find Earl with that's going to have the thing to come and get you. And oh Lord, then I called some friends that I knew that I was near.
Mm-hmm.
I was not too far out of Glendale, West Virginia, about 30 miles.
Okay.
So I know some people that are well known in
Yeah,
Glendale.
I think I know the same people.
And so I tried to get anybody on the phone. And of course, when you need somebody, you can't get them on the phone. I called the man, I called his wife,
Yeah.
called his son. I called everybody and couldn't get anybody on the phone and said, this is a 911 call.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is not a test. This is not a social call.
Right.
I'm in trouble, here. So got them on the phone and everybody called me back pretty quick. And they sent a friend who was a retired mayor and fire chief. And his pickup truck from 30 miles out was coming to get us.
That is pretty darn nice.
I was trying to call a Ford dealer and nobody wanted to look at the car.
Why?
So we can't really look at it until Thursday. This is Monday.
Oof.
The earliest we can look at something is Monday. So, I'm going down the list of a number of dealers, but going down the list. Finally got one, and I don't even know what they bring it in, or I just wanted to get it somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
So we cranked it up, put some coolant in it, and took it to the dealer, which was only about 3 miles away. Steam starts coming out at the end of it and everything.
Yeah.
Leaving the keys, we go home. We go back to Glendale with all our luggage and everything. Come the next day. I can't remember if somebody called or they just did it out of the niceness of their heart or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they looked at it, had to order a part. I'd blown some heater hoses.
Oh.
Something you would have never changed out.
Right.
Something that just happened.
Yeah.
Stuff happened.
Yeah.
And that wasn't anything you would have done preventive maintenance or anything. And so they had to order it. So they had to fly the part in overnight. So it's another night we're there. And then they did get it first thing in the morning. So
now let me ask you something. Let me ask you.
We were out of there by noon.
Was that one of the highlights of your trip? I mean, we're talking about it.
No, it was the most stressful, one of the most.
But I mean, once you got it all taken care of, you got to spend some time. Some people came
through but you just didn't know how it was going to be taken care of.
Yeah, true.
And I heard that my warranty was not going to cover it.
Oh, ouch!
The initial report was I have a extended warranty that it wasn't going to cover this particular thing. And then it turned out that it did. And, money wise, it wasn't. And money wise, it turned out great. It had a good time staying at these people's house.
There you go. Yeah.
Joe Blair is his name. Stayed at his house. Nice. Just great host.
Good. Excellent.
Got to rest a little bit, with where I wasn't driving or having to be somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
No, had a lot of good times. Enjoyed going through the Norfolk Navy Yard in a boat, looking at all the aircraft.
I love that.
And all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That was cool. Went to Indy, went to Churchill Downs, went to all these other. We had a good time. It was expensive. Had a really good meal outside of Baltimore for lunch, and I've never had this. You've had vegetable beef soup, of course.
Sure, yeah.
This is vegetable beef soup without the beef. Replacing the beef was fresh crab.
Ooh, man, that sounds pretty good.
It was heavenly.
Yeah, that sounds rich. Man, that sounds rich.
That was one of the best meals I had on the trip. And we had a good time in Atlantic City.
Mm-hmm. You gamble?
Saw the Happy Together tour there. Yeah, I did.
Okay.
My buddy didn't know it. He had never been a gambler, really. So there was an available roulette table. I said, let's play. So he could learn a little bit about it.
I
so
just can't
I played
see you.
and played and played and won. And then I said, let's go do craps. And so we went over to craps to show him that.
Yeah.
And I kept betting against myself and losing. I mean, I couldn't lose.
That's crazy.
Don't pass. I must have thrown the dice 20 times.
And
finally, and I did win, and I bet on myself, and finally did win, then pulled it out. Anyway,
I love it.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And saw my buddy Peter Noon in concert. That was fun.
Yeah. Saw some
pictures. Went to New York City.
Yeah.
Went to Washington.
Hey, back up for a second.
All these places.
Back up. Everybody's talking about how New York is a cesspool. What was it like? You were there.
That's a good point. Drove in. It was on a Sunday morning. Drove in the Midtown Tunnel. Came out by the 9/11 area.
Yeah.
Where the World Trade Center was.
Mm-hmm.
That's normally a pretty quiet, yuppie part of town. Anyway,
yeah,
it
right.
looked fine. Went on up the West Side Highway and roamed around through the Times Square area over by NBC. by Trump Tower.
And all nice?
Didn't see what everybody's talking about. Maybe the homeless and the immigrants were asleep or something.
Yeah. Or
Late morning
maybe.
on Sunday, or just weren't out, or they've got that part of town. I mean, I just didn't see what they were talking about. Now, if you go to Brooklyn or you go into the subway
Yeah.
or something like that, you might see it. But all the places that I went to in the middle part of the town and Upper West Side and some of the other places, Central Park South, a lot of the nice
Yeah.
parts of town
Yeah.
were fine, absolutely fine.
That's wild because
And went to
everything.
eat at Patsy's, which is a great,
Oh, I've
was
heard of
where
it.
Frank Sinatra used
Yeah.
to go hang out all
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
time, and had a great meal. I had to park in one of these parking lots. Cost me $43 for lunch to have a parking place,
Oof.
and the lunch was probably 175 or something. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Good.
it was a great meal. That was the best meal of the trip.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Excellent.
it should have
Excellent.
been.
Excellent.
But no, I didn't see the bad stuff in New
I'm
York.
blown away.
I thought me too. Now Washington has got a lot of repairs going on.
Yeah.
A lot of the buildings have wraps on them. There's no place to park and no place to use the bathroom in New York or Washington.
Really?
Really, there isn't.
That's wild. That is wild. I've not been to DC.
Not. I mean, I don't think there's ever been particularly, but there used to be a lot more seem like parking than there currently is in Washington. If you want to try to use the bathroom, that's a problem. I mean, they're just.
That's maybe that's why they got all
Paris. There are places to do the number one.
Yeah,
you can go to all kinds of places to do that, but not number two. But I don't know how people deal with that in a big city. I really don't.
I remember
because you just can't go to the bathroom.
I remember my wife telling me when she was in England, which had to be at least 20 years ago when she was in school, maybe 30 years ago, maybe even more, that they had self-sanitizing restrooms right on the street in Europe all over the place. You walk in.
These are they're basically for men. It's just a louvered deal where you walk in there and there's a hole in the floor. I mean, that's
better than peeing on the sidewalk, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But it's just, it's just big cities are big cities, and I guess if you live in those places, you're used to dealing with subjects like that, and they just know. I mean, I don't choose to live in those places. I've always enjoyed kind of being there for a little bit.
Yeah,
but enough is enough. I mean, I've never had any desire, and I tried to live there once. In New York, and I had my car up there, then I sent my car back, and I got my car back, and then I just didn't like the whole concept of leaving my place, getting on a bus that goes to a train, and all that just to get to work. It just, when you're not raised that way, you don't understand that.
I'll tell you, Jimmy, we went through Salt Lake. We stayed one night in Provo, Utah, and went through Salt Lake. And Salt Lake, I felt that way in Salt Lake. I felt like the freeway had 27 lanes on one side. I felt like it was just a sea of cars, and everybody's going 80 miles an hour. The lanes were narrow, and I just had to. My wife and I, we both just said, "Whoa, we got to get out of here. Let's go to Provo. At least there, it's a little more suburban, and we'll stay there the night. Which is what we did. But just crazy. The cities are crowded.
Well, just driving, it's you need to get off the interstate sometimes, which we did, and some that was good, and sometimes it wasn't, but. It was all interesting. It was. I'm really glad that I did it. It was too much.
Yeah.
It was the first week I went north. The second week I went south. I had much more fun the first week.
Yeah.
Because it's all fresh and new, and you're good. By the time the second week comes around, and you're starting to do the reverse and starting to head back down, that's when the car trouble happened. That's when the distances seemed farther.
Well, I'm glad to see that you went, because we talked on several podcasts before you went, and you talked about what a hassle it was and how expensive it is to travel and do these things, and you did it anyway, Jimmy, so I'm proud of you.
And it's even more expensive, I think. I don't know how, but it was, hotels, food, gas.
Yeah, it adds up.
Tickets to do stuff and things like that. I mean, it was a bunch of money, but
priceless.
It was
priceless.
Adventure.
Yeah, exactly.
And it didn't require getting on one of those damn airplanes, and I hear nothing good about that.
I will agree. Here.
Having so many problems.
Yeah. Let me
call you something else that's happened this summer too. Yeah. Really, we haven't. And he's a friend of mine, and I hurt for him today because he is catching hell. and this is Lionel Richie.
What for? I haven't
I
seen
know
anything.
several people that have done something similar, and I don't know this exactly what the spin is going to be.
All right.
But he was supposed to play a weekend concert at Madison Square Garden.
Big one, yeah.
With Earth, Wind, and Fire. People arrive, they are there, they have, done whatever they do before the concert.
Mm-hmm.
Concert's not starting when it's supposed to. 1 hour after it's supposed to have started, it canceled.
Oof. Ouch.
He can't get there because they said of the weather issue. Now, he played Boston the night before. And this is what I know these artists are doing. And I know several that do. And I'm telling you, it's like playing blackjack.
Mm-hmm.
One of these days, you don't care if you've won 9 times in a row, you're going to lose your butt on one of these times.
Sure, yeah.
And so what happened is he probably stayed in Boston after that concert.
Mm-hmm.
He sleeps and gets up about 2 p.m. and has dinner and everything and says, okay, you're going to the airport at 5 or something. And the weather turns upside down or something happened where he couldn't get there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was too late to drive. It was too late couldn't fly. You're just screwed. And so they had to cancel the concert. Even though he thought he would make it or try to, couldn't do it. And I know some people that have concerts at 9:00 at night in Wisconsin, and they leave Nashville at 6:00.
Whew.
And if you have a mechanical of your plane or whatever else,
you're not making.
You're going to have to, you're not going to show up for your show, and it's because a lot of these artists, particular superstar artists, have no fear.
Mm-hmm.
I know people that have done this in television, where I've got a 6:00 news that starts at a certain time, and I know it's going to start with or without me, but I'm going to go ahead and try to do this. And you get locked in the bathroom, or you have a flat tire, or
anything,
something happens to you, and it's you have no way to tell anybody where you are or whatever. I'm always early.
Yeah, I've been that way too.
If I'm late for something, there's something wrong. Usually, 100% of the time.
Oh, I'm
always there early.
How long have we done this? We have done this for years. I mean, years upon years with radio under our belt too. How many times were you and I either late to the show, but we were still there? But I mean, maybe twice in 15 years, 12 years. Yeah. That's not bad. Yeah, it's not bad.
Because there's something really up when you are. But if you've got 20,000 people waiting for you in a room, what you have to do is you have to have a call. You have to plan for the flat tire.
Yes,
I
agree.
You have to plan for you having projectile vomiting because of the stomach issue.
I agree.
You've got to really work that into your back time of when you're supposed to walk into that building. And walking into the building does not mean for an 8:00 show at 7:45.
Right.
Doesn't mean. And so whatever the time was that they cut it too close. And so, I mean, you wouldn't believe, this guy, he has so many nice things always written about him.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe Instagram. It was hundreds I'm so mad. I mean, when you cancel a show, that day of, it doesn't matter it does matter whether it's an hour into when you started or an hour before the concert, whenever. People have already done the hotels. Yeah. They've already rented the car. They've already taken the plane flight if it's Las Vegas or whatever. A lot of people, particularly on a Sunday show, cannot stay till Monday night.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they working.
Can't do it because they'll get fired or whatever. They just can't do it, or they can't afford a second night. And that's what they're doing. They're doing a make good concert tonight. But
you got to be able to have the time.
Forever, man. It's just not worth it. I mean, your time is important. But what Tom Jones always did, and Elvis too, is they would finish the concert. They knew they were wound up anyway, and they go ahead and get in the jet, maybe clean up a minute, get in the jet, and go ahead and fly to the next town that night, getting in there at 1 or 2 in the morning.
Makes sense.
And then you go to bed at late, and then you're where you need to be the next day. That was what Elvis did. That is what you should do. And this is a big boo-boo.
Now, let me ask you a question. What do they have? I mean, I'm just thinking as you're telling me this story that nobody has come up with concert or insurance for that kind of thing where you say, okay, I'm doing this trip. I mean, it doesn't happen a lot.
No, Ticketmaster wasn't even going to refund. I mean, there's
somebody should have an insurance.
This whole thing with concerts, it's just highway robbery on this stuff. Anyway,
no doubt.
No, it's all screwed up. People are just out. And will they want to do that a second time?
No, they're not going to do it. Yeah,
but in the scheme of things, it's a small percentage. But you just don't want that kind of. You don't want that kind of PR out there about you.
No, you don't. But if there was an opportunity for me to pay for a trip, $3,000 included Lionel Richie and refund of the tickets if he doesn't show, and it cost me, instead of $3,000, it cost me $4,000, and I get all my money back, I might buy that. I might pay a little extra.
But they don't take Ticketmaster.
Yeah, that's too bad. That is too bad. Boy,
they've already spent your money, because you probably bought this ticket a year ago.
6 months ago. Yeah. Yeah,
they've held your money out for that long.
No doubt,
it's mandatory. It really is.
No doubt.
And again, this artist, because they don't. I understand they don't want to go and spend the day, in whatever town they're in. They don't want to.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. Too,
but if they can stay in one place, but the trick is you just go the night before.
Yeah, and
if you're on a tour, and if not, some people do one-ups. But you just can't wait to the last minute. You can't.
No, I agree. I was just talking to a gentleman this morning that had worked at this certain place, a media company, for 51 years, which you've got some years under your belt as well. I know he's worked there 51 years for a large media conglomerate.
Wow.
Never been late. Never in 51 years. And that doesn't just happen. You have to make it a point not to be late. You have to make a point to say, well, if I had a flat tire, what time would I have to leave to get there? Never in 51 years. That's incredible. So, the artists that it does happen to, to me, they've got to remember a little bit, they're making money off all these people, right? I mean, that's their...
at some point, though, you just don't think about that.
I guess.
You're such a big star, you're disconnected.
Yeah,
you're really
I think you're right.
Disconnected from a lot of stuff. And it's a wake-up call when it happens, and I just hate that it happened to him. Disney is currently undergoing a wake-up call.
Oh, are they?
They've lost $1 billion this summer.
Wait a minute, isn't it called a woke-up call? Is that
woke-up call?
A woke-up call.
They lost $1 billion because Indiana Jones was just a flop.
Garbage, yeah. Nobody liked it.
Just a flop.
Yeah.
And then these superhero movies they've been putting out from whoever, Marvel or whatever, they've all been too.
Yeah.
And then a lot of these things are such bloated, big budget monsters. But anyway, they've lost $1 billion this summer on that stuff.
And I've noticed too that the park traffic, they keep talking about the park traffic being down, whether it's LA, Disneyland, Disney World, wherever, the traffic is down in general for people going to amusement park. I don't know why.
They're big, because it's so expensive.
Yeah. Okay.
It's 100 and something a day, per person, 100 and something a day. And not to mention the hotels and everything else.
Yeah, true.
I mean, we're at the big limit, I think, in this country right now, on some kind of, where they keep up with how much credit we're doing.
I like that.
It's way up there.
I like that. The big limit. I like that, Jimmy, because that says a lot right there, because in the back of my mind, I get it right away. The big limit. We've all had about enough of getting ripped off everywhere we go. So we're only going to get ripped off a little bit and quit going to all these places until reality check, Yeah, it's great.
And who knows when there's a reality check that's going to be going on. Another thing, too, and nobody wants to hear about this. Nobody.
All right, give it to me.
I'm hearing more and more, and I see all this news every day from all over the country, because I'm looking at all these publications all over the countries and wires and things like that.
Yeah, sure.
COVID is coming back.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I saw it.
It's coming back.
Are we going to let it back?
There's a group of people that think that Big Pharma, it was all a scam. And whoever, this is some of this far right wacky crap. The COVID was not a scam. A lot of people died.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people died, and a lot of people got sick. Now, whether the vaccination was as effective as they would have liked, I don't know.
I don't either.
But I took it every time, and I never got it.
Yeah, but, interesting. I mean, the whole thing is interesting. So
it's just anyway. It's coming back. COVID's coming back. The vaccine's probably going to be out in September. The flu is coming. This could be a threesome. It's flu, COVID, and RSV this winter. And the RSV is for little kids, and that's been killing people too.
Respiratory,
the flu obviously has been something that kills people. So, you make the choice if you want to bet your life on Newsmax or Fox or whoever's making up all this stuff. I don't, although I just don't think, even with all the flaws of some of our politicians, I don't believe Trump ever said that the vaccine was a fake or something. I don't think, but he may have. But some people did.
No, I don't remember him saying that. I do remember when he was in office, when it all happened, saying that the governors of each state, which I thought was a great idea, had the ability to.
Oh, it's about the vaccines and whether
and determining,
and all that stuff.
yeah. I mean, I remember, but I don't remember him ever saying it was a hoax. He did call it the China virus or the whatever he called Chinese virus.
So I don't, frankly, I don't care where it came from. I just don't want to get it.
Yeah, I don't want to get it.
What are we going to do if it's the China virus? Were we going to drop a bomb on them or something? Because
what?
No.
Point the finger? Is that what we're going to do? I mean, is this?
Yes. I mean, I never understood the outcome.
Yeah, unless
argument and people fought about it so much.
Yeah, unless that was a blame, or maybe they started something. Maybe that was the whole blame game. I don't know. I mean,
they were killing themselves, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. I mean,
worse than us, I think.
Yeah, they were having.
So I don't know. Problem. Just so much crazy politics and Hunter Biden stories and all that going on, and it's just, when you travel, I didn't even cut on a lot of it because it's either Hunter Biden or Trump, like a ping pong game.
Yeah.
If you're watching, you turn the channel. CNN never gets far away. Now the Hawaiian fire, I must say, that's diverted them for a little bit.
You've been there, right? You've been to Lahaina. You've been walked down that street, probably.
It's terrible.
It's awful. It's awful.
And Aquaman is telling people, if you've got a vacation coming up to Maui, don't go. Cancel it.
Yeah.
Because they need your hotel room for people that don't have homes.
Yeah,
and
I think that's
going to be paying for some, and Red Cross and all that stuff's going to be paying for these people. But they don't need you right now partying. They said, and here's another thing you don't want if you're a star. Some Paris Hilton was seen frolicking in the surf 30 miles from where this disaster was.
Ooh,
and that's a bad look for you as anything. So you don't, it's just, it's terrible. That's where Willie Nelson and a bunch of people have homes, Oprah, Jeff Bezos, and all those people like that. But that place is just, there's going to be a blame game coming out here at some point.
Yeah, I don't know
sooner than later.
Who do you
Hawaiian
blame?
Power didn't cut the power, which would have saved lives. They didn't hit the sirens. The tsunami
I've
sirens,
heard that.
They've got a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do it because they just didn't have their act together. This happened so fast.
Well, yeah.
It just didn't happen.
I mean, I looked at the footage right away. We were camping, but we had good 5G coverage, and I just happened to stumble across it. And it looked to me, and I was late to the party, it looked to me like somebody dropped a bomb on Hawaii.
Well, it certainly did. The outcome. It was moving at the speed that it was a fire hurricane that was moving, in its forward pace was unbelievably fast, and people couldn't outrun it. And they just finally, it overcame them in many cases.
That's just so sad.
And some people didn't get, people have gotten so used to being warned with a siren or with the Amber Alert thing or whatever. And the cell service went down pretty quick. And I've learned that by covering tornadoes and other events.
Oh, sure.
Cell phones do go fast.
Yeah.
That's why you can't let AM radio go away.
Yeah, you are right on that.
It's the only thing that can help us in certain situations.
It's going to
be the only thing that will work.
I have been in a forest fire, my home. And I don't think you ever came to that house. It was before you started traveling.
Golf course house?
No, it was before that one. We had a
train track house?
No, before that one. You never been. I don't think you. It was 20 years ago, probably. But it was a grass fire and a forest fire combined. And we looked out. It was probably 5 miles, but you could see the smoke coming up over the foothills. And we looked out over and we thought, we'll be fine. And Jimmy, I kid you not, within maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, that fire was on us. And it had created its own atmosphere, and it was dry. It was lighting backfires, and embers were lighting behind us and in front of us, and it can come real fast. And we were not in a hurricane.
And you see people driving through those things.
Oh, God, yeah.
I know in Southern California fires, you see it,
Yeah.
And it's not anything you can create, and it's not anything you can even imagine.
It is
what
not.
it's like.
No, you're right. You are right.
If you ever wondered what hell was like on Earth, really, then it might be
That's
that,
probably it.
because the fire chasing you down the road, and it doesn't give up.
Yeah.
It doesn't get tired.
Yeah.
And it didn't burn out until it got to the water. And they don't know how many people are dead.
No, they still keep changing that number every day, but it's just
they
sad.
can't find people, and some people are alive, but they don't know who's missing. It's just it's a mess.
It is a mess.
But anyway, that's one of the one of the biggest story, but one of the biggest wildfires ever. And how did it happen? It was a combination of a real life hurricane that was offshore with some really dry conditions, and they have places that get rain like you wouldn't believe in Hawaii, and they have places that never gets rain.
Yeah.
That are very arid, that are almost desert-like.
Just a beautiful place in the world, and just torched. I mean, just
torched.
One of the most beautiful.
No, it's just it's so interesting to see, America. Again, I felt like I saw a lot of the United States. I saw a lot of states.
Yeah.
On this trip, and nice to go to the Special Forces Museum in Fort. Well, now it's called Fort Liberty, but it's in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Just went all over the place, but just, really do some research before you book a lot of these places. I'm telling you, because
I got one more question.
I
got one more question for you. You've traveled, you've seen people, you watch the news. We do it for what we do for work, right? We ingest so much of this stuff. It's hard to not, think the world's going to hell in a handbasket sometimes. But when you're out there traveling, is it fair to say, Jimmy, that your contacts with people, that most people are good? I mean, that you came across during your travels. I mean, people are genuinely.
Small town America is still fantastic. Went to some little place that I found in Greenville, North Carolina, just some eating place, and and this Ford dealership, Doan's in Belmont, Ohio.
Yes,
those people were really sweet and very nice and helpful.
Good.
There's still people out there that are good. There are people that are scary. And some of the big towns are a little bit of Dodge City. They're scary.
Yeah, I got you.
Miami's having that issue. They're freakazoid, mean people, bad people that seem to be in the big towns. And like Memphis had so many people shot this past weekend.
Oh, geez.
It's just a lot. I mean, it's just, you just don't know when the bad stuff's going to erupt in these towns.
Yeah.
Towns a lot of our cities are sick.
And
until this Nordstrom event that happened this week.
Oh, the smash and grab.
People came in there, and 50 people.
That's unreal.
Came in there and grabbed, whole kinds of stuff, until that becomes unacceptable, and until certain criminals are punished with really quick punishment and exact punishment. It's going to be scary.
Yeah.
And we got to get control of a lot of this stuff. You really do, because no one wants to live in fear, and you can't just run from it. You've got to put certain people in jail and never let them out. You can't just let anybody in the world, even with our big hearts, let them into the country and turn the country into more of a third world than the third world was they left.
Wow.
And,
well said.
We don't want to go that way. And it's going to break Social Security. Our big hearts are going to break the system if we don't get this under control.
You're right.
Sad
You're right.
That everybody's not as lucky as we are in this country, but we can't save everybody.
That's right. The triage.
We just can't.
Yep. You're right 100%. And I'll tell you what, it's excellent to have you back. I'm glad to be back, and next week we're going to do this all again. Before we sign off for today, and I encourage you to tell a friend, where can people look at the pictures of your trip? Because you went all over. You documented where? On Facebook?
I did a lot of Facebook. I did a lot of Instagram. I did a little bit of all those, Instagram and Facebook, on AskJimmyCarter.com. If you go there, that's the main site for it's not on there, but there's little buttons at the top for YouTube and for Instagram and for Facebook. Go there, then you can sort of see, I think, most of those feeds. I didn't take as many pictures as I would have liked.
Yeah. This
trip. I took some, but I didn't take a lot, and I didn't bring out my big old camera all the time. I was kind of enjoying doing, and not so much.
I love it.
Recording it.
Sometimes you got to do that. All right, before we go, one last thing. Happy birthday to our good friend. You know who you are. I think he turned, 30 years old? 35? 37? Somewhat. At least. Until next time on Sweeping the Country, I'm Derek Walker. He is.
I am Jimmy Carter.
Good day.
Good day.